What's up, folks? KL Smith here, and today we're bringing you guys episode number 13 of the MDRN Future Podcast. Got another special guest. He's back again. My brother, Carrington. How you doing today?
Yo, doing good. Glad to be back.
Weather is terrible.
Yeah, it's not great out there right now.
It's not.
Gray.
It's not great. You actually went outside, didn't it?
I did. Took the dogs out and immediately just got poured on. I just soaked immediately.
MDRN Future, where we talk about the weather. No. So today we got a pretty good show. We're going to talk, as we do always, about EVs. We're going to talk some Tesla up front out the gate. A lot of stuff happening there. We're going to talk about Apple a little bit. Going to talk about GM. They showed off some stuff at CES. And then we're going to get into some more of the culture stuff and talk a little bit about some clothing and sneakers. I got some stuff in. I'm going to talk to my brother about some stuff that he's been doing and house hunting. I know you've been house hunting here recently, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I just want to close with some stock market stuff because it's been crazy this past week, and I have been participating myself. In the craziness. So we're gonna get started. So let's go ahead and hop right in. Carrington, Tesla, obviously a bunch of stuff happening. What has you most excited about some of the stuff that you heard from Tesla this past week? Obviously they had their earnings report, their profit. I don't know if you know this, their profit they missed a little bit. And they however showed off the Model S refresh, the Model X refresh. And they're over the course of the last, since I did episode 12, we got the Model Y third row seat. We got standard range Model Y, Model 3 interior update. So what has you excited right now?
Well, first I want to say, to back up for a second, I just want to say that there's so much that has happened since the last time I was on. I'm so excited to it just in a matter of, a couple months, couple weeks. It seems like it feels like tech and fashion and clothing, everything is pushing. And it's so great to come in. There's so much to talk about since we were last on. It's exciting. But getting into Tesla specifically, I'm really excited about the S and the X refresh. Now, specs aside, all this stuff aside, I'm focused. My primary focus is on aesthetic because I think about the things in the controversy around the steering wheel. This is the kind of stuff that I love because when people start throwing a fit and getting all up in arms over design. It's good because it's so it's controversial and it means that you have a company that's pushing the boundary, pushing the rules of what is questioning everything, right? And I love when that happens because it means that it forces you to have an opinion. It forces you to think a certain way. Oh my gosh, there's no stocks. Oh, I can't drive it. And other people are like, they look at it and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm one of those people. I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no stocks. Holy cow, it's so clean. I love it,
So you're one of the folks that thinks that the Yoke steering wheel is a clean look.
It is so clean, and I'm so glad that somebody like Tesla is willing to push us forward, and say, hey guys, check this out. It's something different, something new for you, and it's cleaner for you. It's just different.
Now, I've heard some stuff about, or I should say, I've read some stuff about the Yoke design. Obviously, Carrington, you're hitting right where people are sour right now the most about the refresh. So that has people all super opinionated, but it is something that I think is worth talking about. I mean, I think that it definitely has a design that's going to make people feel uncomfortable. Because it's not what we're used to, and Tesla does this a lot. if you think about the history of the company, obviously, you make an EV in a gas powered world, then people are going to balk at you, and you throw out insane specs for your vehicles, people are going to balk at you.
Yep.
But I think it's one of those things where they, again, like you said, I think they do this intentionally to get people talking about the company. And I'm almost certain that they might offer an option. They should offer an option to have a traditional steering wheel. They don't currently on the site
Yeah.
when you go through the process, but it seems like there's enough scrutiny around this that they would, at the very least, offer a traditional steering wheel. But one of the things that again I was getting to was that I was reading that this is for autonomous driving. This is not necessarily for the people. This is more thinking future forward about full self driving, which
Yes.
has rolled out in spades recently with Tesla. So, you think about kind of what the steering wheel looks like, and I've even read a little bit about, and I have an excerpt in here from Tesla. The autopilot sensors that they have are also changing how you shift your gears. So it's like a full self-serving or automated shift between park, drive, and reverse.
Yeah.
Basically, the car is supposed to be able to sense when you are going to do whatever you're doing and automatically put you in the correct gear. I thought this was really fascinating because when Christy looked at this shaft or this steering wheel and
Yeah.
this Yoke steering wheel, she had a reaction that was very similar to what most people are having. She said, "Well, I don't really like that steering wheel design. Oh, where do you shift gears?" That was her immediate. She was like, "Oh, I don't like this. I don't know where I can shift gears." And
Yeah.
that's before I had even read about them switching this to be more automated. And
Right.
so, you think about AI taking over. Again,
Yeah.
they're making steps there to prepare people for the future. And in preparation for the future, because I have to harken back to this a little bit, because you and I have been at the last episode we talked about it quite extensively. But when we talk about what the car is going to be capable of doing, when you talk about full self-driving, plus what they've shown off with the gaming setup and whatnot, it
Yeah.
gets exactly into what we were talking about with entertainment as the focus in the vehicle and not about driving. You're on your long commute to work. You're off in California, Atlanta, wherever there's a whole lot of traffic. You're sitting in traffic, bumper to bumper traffic, and all of a sudden you're like, well, this is full self driving is a thing. You're just
Yeah.
like, all right, well, I'm gonna start watching some TV or some Netflix, or I'm gonna start gaming on The Witcher or Cyberpunk, and let the car do its thing. That's the future that we are driving toward, and Tesla is really putting that at the focus with
Mm.
this refresh. When you think about that, especially that backseat
Oh yeah.
gaming experience with the little small 8-inch screen, this is exactly what we were talking about, man.
It's the writing is on the wall. I keep saying it. The writing's on the wall because um, you go back to Elon's tweet when he's like, entertainment will be critical when cars drive themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like he's clearly already he's thought a lot about it. It's in his head. You can clearly see where they're trying to push us toward what they're trying to push us towards. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Especially, yeah, I mean, especially looking at the second display and kind of like, look, it's going to be the things that they're doing, they're already way ahead of everybody else.
yep, yep.
That's kind of the funny part about it, right? It's like he's trying to push the envelope so far that he comes into it and it's like an uncontested race because they're already ahead. And one of the things that I had spoken to you about a few weeks ago is that it reminds me of, I remember a long time ago, I was like, man, it would be cool if there was a social network for drivers as you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
as you're
yeah.
driving, and it's car agnostic. It links up to the software links up to the car OS, and you can talk to drivers around you. You can play games with them. You can, and it's like reminds me of exactly that. And it reminded me. I've been watching a lot of The Expanse. Danielle and I just got into it, and it's futuristic space show. But what they can do is they can send like a tight beam to ships, which is like a direct link to the ship, and you can send like audio or video feed. It reminded me of this, like the social network with cars and Tesla and stuff, where you could do something like that. So
Right.
send a quick thing, and it's got like your face or your audio if you want, and you send it to a car, and they get the link, and they open it up, and they've got the feed, and you're talking, and that's kind of how I imagine in my head, but I don't know. I just think they're on the right track, and I'm excited to see them keep moving it forward.
What fascinates me the most about that social network discussion that we've had in the past is the especially in a gaming sense, you're taking that long drive somewhere. You're going, I don't know, you're going a cross country trip, or you're doing a 10-hour plus trip, 8-10 hour trip. You and I've done that drive quite a bit. 6 hours is what we would do, right?
Yep.
But when you're driving, you end up finding driving buddies, so to speak, on the road.
Exactly.
And those end up being the folks that somebody's going 85 miles an hour in a 70. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to follow this person for 90 miles until they either speed up and go too fast, and you're like, I want to back off, or they get off, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about full self-driving, your driving buddies become all the other full self-drivers, or all the other Teslas on the road, or whatever they make for that network. But then if you're talking about, at least what we envisioned, the social network aspect of this, when you're on the road, the Teslas are communicating with each other. So if you want to hop into a multiplayer game or play such and such with some of the folks that are your driving buddies next to you, maybe you do that. Maybe, I think one of the things I talk about, maybe it's like, I always want to wave to somebody that's driving their Tesla, but I can't really do that because I take my hands off the steering wheel. So, what's the Tesla salute, I think is what we were talking about.
Yeah, the salute.
But if you had that in your car and it recognized another Tesla near you, maybe you tap your dash real quick or whatever, and it just sends up an emoji to them, like,
exactly.
it's a Tesla salute, right?
It's a social network.
Right. There's some little stuff like that would be really cool that you and I have discussed. But for the folks out there, because we're kind of getting giddy on this, but for the folks out there that don't know already, I'm assuming most of you know, because we're giving this a little bit later than the rest of the assessment out there. But for the Model S, Model X refresh, the new Plaid specs are in. It's starting at $115,000. I think it's $114,900. It goes 0 to 60 in 1.99 seconds. That's crazy. The quarter mile is 9.23 at 150 miles per hour trap speed. That's what they put on the site. It's 1,020 horsepower. I thought that was interesting because that's basically the same as Lucid. They have 3 high performance motors in the tri-motor. Again, that's the whole thing with the Plaid. And then they got the refreshed back, refreshed interior, refreshed exterior. There's some chrome delete on the exterior now. You got the wheels. I want to call them arachnid wheels on the that option for the axles. And what am I missing? You got the new 17-inch screen, which is like I want to say it's 3600 by 2200, 2200 by 3600 for resolution. And then you got the back mini screen for gaming and whatnot. And then you have the Yoke steering wheel, which is what you started off right off the bat with.
The Yoke.
Then the Plaid Plus is also in there, $135,000, so $20,000 more. They hit the same miles as the Lucid Dream, which is 520 plus is what they put, 520 plus, and then everything else for the spec wise is supposed to be a little bit better. So aside from the price, so the speed is supposed to be better. The quarter mile is going to be better. Top speed I think is the same, 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
What I
That's on
found
the
so
plus, right?
Yeah, that's on the
Yeah.
plus. What I found
Yeah.
so interesting about these specs is that they are very, very close now to the Roadster.
Yeah.
Um, and the Roadster got delayed, the Semi got delayed, and the Cybertruck didn't really get delayed. I saw some people are saying that it got delayed. It didn't really get delayed. It was always projected to be late 2021, early 2022. Elon hasn't really changed his what he's saying about that. I mean, he said that the design is complete for the
Yeah.
Cybertruck, but
Yeah. I saw that.
in terms of the date, it's been about the same. So we'll touch a little bit on the Cybertruck here in a second, but I thought it was interesting when you look at the Roadster and that date just keeps shifting. Unveiled in 2017, it's 2022 is when they could be targeting, maybe even later at this point. But I, the thing that he keeps talking about that's hampering them is cell production, right? There's only so many cells that they can produce to make their EVs. They're obviously doing things like trying to get their own mining company, buying up and partnering with as many folks as they can. They release their own battery. They're doing the 4680, right? All of these things in order to produce more cells. And even with that, they're still saying that they're constrained by cells. So I thought it was really interesting to start seeing the Model S and specifically Model S more than the X, but the Model S is really starting to turn into the Roadster. Even when you talk about the steering wheel, right? The Roadster had a Yoke steering wheel in the prototype that they showed, if you remember.
Yeah.
What that looked like. So
I thought it was familiar.
the fact that that's coming in with this makes me go, is the Roadster actually going to come out? Are they just
It
going to
makes
turn the
sense.
Model S into the Roadster? I mean, it's getting closer and closer and closer. I don't know at what point you need to go 0 to 60 faster than 1.8 milliseconds, which I think was the Roadster's initial
Yeah.
spec target when they unveiled it, 1.8, and they're saying that the Plaid Plus is going to be less than 1.99. So look, if you are someone that is waiting for the Roadster, I mean, the Roadster is basically here. I mean, it's at a cheaper price, but if you're a speed demon, I mean, why
Yeah.
would you not get this? It just doesn't make. I mean, it makes sense to me why you wouldn't, because the Roadster is just sexy as hell. But the from a specs side of things, I mean, this is going to be a monster when it hits the road, and I'm pondering what's the next move for a lot of other folks that, at least EVs, that are like, okay, Lucid I think is the only one that put specs out there that were so crazy that it's like, okay, this looks like a Lucid, but I think from a design standpoint, I prefer the S to the Lucid Dream or the Lucid Air. So that they basically have done what Lucid has done, and I want to say the pricing is on par with theirs at that 135K, maybe even a little bit cheaper. The other things,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, what is the play for the Roadster, you think? Do you think it's like, what is the strategy? Do you think it's just gonna be like more of like a limited thing?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think it'll be limited because of the price. The starting price is 200,000, and then I want to say that limited edition, which I don't even know if they're selling anymore, is 250,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has I mean, it's a supercar at a fifth of the price. You look at the $1 million plus supercars that are out there. The Roadster on paper, because we've not really seen it other than that prototype, blows everything out of the water when it comes to some of those prototypes for the price. So you're talking about 600 some miles of charge. I think it was 610. Again, I'm spitballing here because I'm having trouble remembering everything. 1.8 milliseconds 0 to 60, topped out at 220 or 225. And then the had the Yoke steering wheel. I think it actually was a 4-seater, but it was a 2-door.
Yeah.
So you had room in the back. What else am I missing? It had some crazy like SpaceX engine stuff going on in it. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of tech in there that's really nuts.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like if you're a car collector and you like high-end premium supercars like a Jay Leno,
Yeah,
the Roadster is definitely for you.
exactly.
If
That's who
you
it's the market.
yeah, if you are mildly wealthy, this is definitely the car. Rather than getting a Lambo or a Porsche, that's a better play, right? Like you go with
Yeah,
the Roadster. I think most people that are into these cars that are extremely wealthy will ultimately just go to buy both of them or whatever they want. But for the folks that are like, okay, if I could only get one, I'm gonna go with the Roadster. I think that's what's gonna happen because the specs are just so insane. So I think it's a play to the wealthy and the
yeah,
car collectors. And I don't really think you can put a date on the folks that really care about that, as long as they continue to improve the tech from what they unveiled almost 4 years ago now.
exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, just a couple other things that I wanted to hit on, especially, I mentioned the Model 3 interior update, this new wood paneling, heated steering wheel, which they showed off in China first, and now some of that stuff is coming over here in the US for the 2021. They updated that. The standard range Model Y is coming out. So initially they said they were going to do it, then they axed it for a little bit. Now it's coming out. So that's a cheaper price. And the specs are pretty good. 244 miles of range, which I think is what everyone cares about when you talk about standard, anything entry levels. Also with the Model Y, we got the third row seat. Now, this one hits home for me a little bit because it is something that Christy and I have been talking about quite extensively. And I mentioned it here, I think even talking with you, but also separately
Yeah,
in some former podcasts. We I have a family of five at this point, including my three daughters and my wife, and myself, and we fit right now. Everyone fits into the Model 3. It is tight for my oldest daughter, Kylan, in the middle, but she fits between two car seats. Um, it is not ideal, but it gets us where we need to go if we want to get into the Model 3. Um, we also have a Subaru Ascent, which is our big body. We don't want to have a gas vehicle anymore. Unfortunately, no one, including Tesla, has built something that we want to travel around in and carry a large family, but also use EVs. So when we first saw the Model Y, the first thing my wife asked was like, "Well, what's the length on it? It doesn't look like it's very big." And so we've been waiting. We saw that it was going to have a seven seater, so have a third row. And we looked at it, and we looked at what some of the pictures looked like initially, of where people were kind of figuring out how it would fit in there.
yeah,
And now it's available, and we've seen it, and both of us are like, "Oh, it's so tight! It's so tight." Um, and if you have anyone that's tall, so her brother is 6'5", and obviously we wouldn't put him in the back row. It'd be like for the kids. But if we have family over, obviously the only folks that are going to really feel comfortable sitting in the back are kids, which I think is kind of intended. You want the bigger folks in the bigger seats. But
yeah,
if you're riding with all adults and you happen to have a larger party and they're above 6 foot, they're going to have trouble getting to the back. The video I saw was from 2-Bit Da Vinci. Shout out to 2-Bit Da Vinci. I watched some of his videos. I watched a couple other folks. But he showed it off. He has, I want to say, a family of four. He put car seats back there. It's a great video. If you're interested in looking at that video, you can look down in the description. I have the video down there. But it's a great showcasing for my specific situation with a
yeah,
larger family and looking at everything. But really, I'm anticipating something bigger. The only company that has shown promise to us right now is Rivian with the R1S, um, which is their SUV. They have the R1T, which is their truck that's supposed to come out this year. They'll be the first truck, I think, to hit market. But that is something that I thought was interesting. And with that, and Carrington, I mentioned this to you, Elon actually talked about a Tesla van for the first time. And so I saw some mock-ups. As soon as he said it, like mock-ups were done in like 10 seconds.
yeah,
But Tesla talking about a van is something that I just mentioned it to Christy, it's my wife, and she's like, "Oh, really? Oh, a
yeah,
van?"
yeah,
So I'm excited to see that there's starting to be some options available with the Model Y 7-seater. I just don't think it's big enough.
Yeah.
I don't
It
want
looks
people to
really tight.
cram. Yeah, I don't want people to cram in there, feel uncomfortable, and I don't want it to just be for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I want something that's going to be spacious and people feel good about riding in it. That being said, the next big body vehicle that we're getting is the Cybertruck.
It's a Cybertruck. Plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
Ah,
Yeah, the Y is just a little bit too tight,
yeah.
especially looking at that video from 2-Bit Da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely tell that for folks who are larger, a little bit taller, bigger legs, it's tight.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing that I want to mention with Tesla before we move on to Apple and GM is Tesla Energy. Now, I've been interested in solar for a while now. I've had multiple folks come out since I've basically gotten my Model 3 and then gone, oh man, I really want to be energy self-sufficient. And we had a contractor come out, do the cost, how much would it cost. So he put together a sheet for us.
Yeah.
And we haven't pulled the trigger yet, but we have all the pricing down for several different companies in our area. And what I noticed was Tesla's Energy, one, if you look at for anybody that looks at their earnings report, their energy sector is like done pretty well, continuing to grow. But most recently, they were talking about making their own inverter, which is on the technical side. I'm not an expert at all at inverters, but this is part of your solar panel setup when you're running some of the electrical side of taking that energy and transferring it for your house. Typically your inverter unit either sits next to your box or somewhere in the garage, wherever they set it up for your solar setup. And I was fascinated by this because it gets into another part of what you and I have been talking about with the whole housing setup. And I know this is something that you wanted to talk a little bit about.
Yes.
But the inverter just made me think, okay, this is just one more thing where they're getting closer and closer to the inside your house. You got the solar roof, you got the power wall, you got the inverter coming, you got the HVAC, which we talked about on the previous episode. At what point is there the smart home?
That's what I've been keying on for a long time, thinking about. We had been talking about this years ago, right?
Yep.
It's been years now, but also it reminded me of I can't remember where I heard it, but it's some news article I read that people should not think of Tesla as a car company, but an energy company.
Yeah.
And it's really when you take a step back and you look at it and say, kind of makes you think a little bit, about their strategy and kind of assess them a little bit differently on a whole. But the smart home thing is, I feel like, again, I'd say it again, the writing's on the wall, because when I look at what Tesla's doing and I also look close at what Apple's doing and other smart home companies with like home tech.
Yeah.
It feels like the next logical step to me anyway is building the actual home. Because if Tesla's talking about HVAC unit, I mean inverters, you might as well at that point go the whole shebang, build a home. You know what I mean? And have everything plug into the ecosystem that you created with your vehicle, with your solar panels. It just, I don't know, with your roof, right? Like
Yep.
At that point, it's like it is a Tesla home.
Yeah, 100%. I can't help but feel like that is an evolution of what will happen. And one of the things I've been thinking about with that is you want to talk about energy efficiency.
Yeah.
It is also the eco-friendly nature in which Elon would probably take the approach for a company like that. That is, if it's Tesla or he decides to buy some other company that maybe is building homes or is mass producing prefabs, something like that. Because that's where I kind of envision him as going prefab route, so that everything can just kind of a modular prefab where you can just kind of slap things together, put Tesla roof on top of it,
Call it done.
and call it done. Yeah, and be ready to go. I could see him trying to improve that process and making a gigafactory for something like that.
Ooh,
Right.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
those are the things that I think would be interesting, because I think he would take a holistic approach to it. They would go, he likes to say that they do first principles for thinking about how they would go about something like that. So I don't know how far out they are. Like, if Tesla continues to dominate the way they are right now, and you
Yeah.
say maybe 10 years from now, 2030, I think we might start to see, you might hear something 2027 with the intent to do something in 2030. I think that that could happen. It definitely could happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just wait for it. It's going to be, you can see it already. It's going to be like dominoes, man. I'm telling you. With Tesla does it, and then the people are going to be talking about Apple Home, and then you're going to start seeing design aesthetics for for Apple. And I can just see it. I see it right now. I see the articles all over the place.
That's funny.
Then Google Home.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do it.
And they already have that product, Google Home.
Yeah, Google Home. They already have it. But you're going to see each company has their own design aesthetic principles, and they're going to integrate those into the houses that they build.
Speaking of Apple, I talked about them a little bit on episode 12. We got some sleet. I'm looking outside real quick. We got some sleet coming down. It looks a little thick and slushy right now.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's going to be nice tonight, y'all. It's going to be nice tonight.
The grapple is coming.
But Apple announced, they didn't really announce it. I'm sorry. Multiple companies announced the Apple EV. It was first reported on Reuters. The 100,000 vehicles around 2024 is what we've heard. 400,000 vehicles overall. A lot of the news that first got put out there was coming out of Korea. Then it was being pulled down, which I thought meant that somebody over there was spilling the beans before they needed to. Hyundai announced that they were making an EV with them. I talked about this pretty in depth, and I know you watched that and really wanted me to reemphasize that again. But when you think about the ecosystem that Apple has from an entertainment standpoint with the store, the App Store, and you think about a vehicle, and you think about the frontier that's about to happen with self-driving and entertainment all coming into one, so that your car turns into your new production center while you're driving. You don't have to worry about driving. Does Apple entering that picture get you excited, or does it make you more excited for Tesla? Do you think that they would make any significant progress from where Tesla's at, or for that matter, any other company?
I do. I think that they obviously they know they have great design principles.
Yeah.
I think they lost, what's the guy's name?
Ivy.
They lost him, right?
Yeah.
So that could be a ding, because he has been pushing their design forward for years, obviously.
Yeah.
Even working with Jobs and Tim. But I think that I also saw that they had I guess the talks fell through, but they were looking at partnering with Canoo. I guess before they partnered with Hyundai. And Canoo has the van silhouette.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. But I think that they obviously can innovate. I think that they have a good eye for design, and I think that them two, Apple and Tesla, I think could push each other. Could be the EV rivalry that the EV industry needs, so that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do need a
Apple
big
has
player.
Samsung. Yeah, Apple has Samsung, and they kind of like, you know what I mean? They have that rivalry between them that keeps pushing the tech forward. It's like, oh, you're gonna do this? Okay, I'm gonna do this. And eventually, right? I mean, they'll be similar, but I think there'll be intentional choices that each one makes that makes it different.
That's a really good point that you brought up. That that's a different angle that I haven't really thought about. This is that when there's a rivalry, I think it pushes them. It pushes them to continue to progress.
Yeah.
Uh, Apple could be that rival. That I think the issue with Apple right now is that they're just a little late. So they would have to
Yeah.
speed up their efforts in order to come in there. But with their war chest that they have, $100 billion war chest that they have, uh,
Yeah.
they could definitely make a dent very quickly, and at least, if anything, push some of the existing auto to go. Oh shit! Right? Like we need
Hmm.
to we need to step up and step up now.
Hmm.
Um, I think that they could definitely accelerate things. I just don't know if they would have impact right away. I do feel
Yeah.
like at the top end, when you talk about brand loyalty, I feel like a lot of people that like Apple buy Tesla.
Yeah.
They buy the S's, they
Good
buy the
point.
X's, they probably would get a Roadster. If Apple comes in and they say, we're going to make a equivalent of a Model S, I think, I don't know how strong the brand loyalty is between the Tesla high end folks versus the Apple high end folks, because I think more people would end up buying whatever Apple's S equivalent is versus the Tesla, even if it's inferior. So that is just a minor point that I think is worth
Yeah.
bringing up. But from a design aesthetic standpoint, I think people become kind of loyal to some of the things that you mentioned. I think with the yoke design, like
Yeah.
because they're so polarizing. If Apple comes out and they come out with like a ho hum design that's like, yeah, it looks good, but it looks like it looks like something GM would have made.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think they would get the as fierce of a loyal base as Tesla has for some of their designs, but I do think that they could pull from the high end. So, like for
Yeah.
example, with the Cybertruck, there's nothing that looks like it. There's absolutely nothing that looks like it. Maybe a DeLorean, right? But like that's a
Right.
car, right? So
That's the
so it's
car.
like nothing looks like it, and it's super polarizing
Yeah.
still, and it just creates, I think, affinity for it. Like someone starts talking trash. It doesn't even get to the point where like it gets under my skin because I know people don't like it. But someone starts talking trash about a Cybertruck, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to go with the Rivian," or "I want to go with such and such," and I'm like, "Yeah, those are all cool too." But that looks like every other truck that's that's come out.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the things that I end up saying to those folks. In addition to like the specs just being better and the cost being better on the Cybertruck um, ecosystem. I mean, everything is better about what Tesla has right now. But I
Yeah.
feel like Apple, they would hit something smooth, elegant,
Oh,
maybe
absolutely.
revolutionary in a sense that like whatever they put in there might be plus up from a tech standpoint. But from the outside design, I don't really think it'll be polarizing. I think you'll be like, ooh, that's a very elegant, nice looking, smooth vehicle. That's what I feel like
Yeah.
they go for with their language, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I don't think it'll feel like what's the word I want, like it's aggressive, like a Lambo. Like it's not gonna be like a Lambo. It'll be
Yeah.
like a Lexus. It'll be
Right.
like a Benz. It'll be
Exactly.
like a Rolls Royce. It's not gonna be something that screams at you um, like something a little bit louder like that.
I think what's interesting too is that Apple has been pacing their um, is it consumers or customers
Yeah.
with their brand for years.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, if people can, if they make everything sort of how they do centered around their ecosystem, how that could pull people away from maybe some of the people who are into the Teslas. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because of the fact that you know how people Apple loyalists are with their ecosystem.
Whew. Just
You
as
know what
just
I'm
as
saying?
fierce as Tesla folks.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I'm wondering, it'll be the first time that a um, phone company or a company like Apple who makes phones and who makes laptops and who makes other things, computer company transitions into cars. They've already got their base right
Yep.
in those other things. Now they're
Yep.
transitioning to vehicles. Can they bring the people that they've already been pacing into their vehicle strategy?
Yes, I think the part that gets me the most excited about Apple is the same reason I'm excited about what Tesla's doing from an entertainment standpoint with the apps. I'm going to go back to that real quickly. If you watch episode 12, I talk about it there pretty extensively. But the notion that full self-driving is coming and you add on apps to that, knowing the developer ecosystem inside the App Store, hundreds of thousands of millions upon apps, right? And all of these developers worldwide. And you think about having those folks say, okay, well, we know what the mobile experience is like. What is a car experience like for apps? What are you doing in there? What is it, just like home entertainment? Is it something different? Is it more interactive? Are you doing some type of visualization on top of, if you think about the Tesla dashboard, is it a visualization on there that shows future traffic, does something with alerts on, some toaster strudel that's ready for you? I don't know what comes out. I'm just trying to spitball, what does that ecosystem look like? And that's what has me the most excited, because Apple then adds a lot of legitimacy to the strategy that Tesla's clearly taking with some of their entertainment systems, and it makes everyone else look like, oh, well, why didn't you guys think of that sooner? And that's where you talk about that rivalry of Apple then pushes Tesla to do more with some of the things that I think that GM and Ford and Toyota and all these other legacy automakers, Volkswagen, they're playing catch up. They're not setting the pace.
No.
Right? They're just mimicking what Tesla is doing at this point. And
exactly.
And that's what's most disappointing for me. But you take someone like a Rivian or a Lucid, they look like, especially Lucid, looks like they're trying to really push Tesla. They just don't have the firepower as an Apple. So that's where I think that you've really struck a chord with me. It's they actually need a big player that's not going to think like traditional auto and play copycat all the way through it. That being said, again, they have some of the systems in place to mass produce cars, but when you talk about innovation, I just don't know if it's there.
Yeah.
Which gets me to, let's talk about GM. There's a couple things that came out of there that I want to hit on. They changed their logo. I thought this was hilarious because you have to hear how ridiculous it is in order for you to appreciate, I think, what non-traditional, all the EV startups in Tesla and those like that are doing. So they changed their logo to shift toward EVs. But Carrington, and it will be featured everywhere. It'll be featured in their commercials, I guess. It'll be featured on their buildings. It'll be featured everywhere except the damn cars. Now, listen, I heard that and I was like, oh, wait, yes, they changed their logo. They're thinking about things, but this is identity politics to me, right?
Yes.
And the other thing that got me, and this is the part where I didn't really say anything to some of the folks that were interested, but they went out and they included all these people. Some of them I know, and their EV commercial that they shot, and they're showing people sitting on their skateboard platform.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be on the cars. The logo is not going to be on the cars. That is so crazy. And I was tweeting about this because I just thought it was ridiculous. The only reason I can see this being an issue is because they can't put it on a gas guzzler. The plenty of gas guzzlers that they have produced or will continue to produce, right, because it's not an EV. Right. So
they can't slap it on there.
They can't do it. So I just thought that was so funny and ironic, and again, just kind of a ploy to get people excited. But it was just ridiculous. But that aside, CES,
great point. Identity politics.
That aside, they showed off some pretty cool stuff at CES. Yeah. There is one vehicle that I have been excited for with GM, and that is the Cadillac Lyriq. Yeah. It looks excellent. It looks like what I was saying with Apple. It looks elegant. It looks smooth. But they showed off some pretty interesting stuff in a number of their vehicles. I think the most ridiculous of them are the flying electric Cadillac and basically the larger van, which, I showed you 2 images of those, and you had no idea that those things were
Yeah,
coming.
I didn't
I wish
see
you
that.
guys could have heard the original reaction that my brother had when I showed him that. But this gets me to something that I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, but I'm going to set it up. When you looked at those, what was your first reaction to, the look, the design, the aesthetic? What did it make you think of?
I I very quickly just said Westworld in my head, and it hits back to what we were talking about previously. And it's just funny how arts and entertainment influences technology.
Yep.
And we were talking about previously Blade Runner, but now look at Westworld, and look how it's pushing, and influencing the silhouettes and shapes and ideas and tech. It's like it's all connected, man.
Yeah.
It's so clear. It's so clear. But I as soon as I saw you showed me the GM van, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the vehicle in Westworld.
In Westworld. Yeah, I
You
know,
know?
right?
And then I was looking at Canoe, and I was like, well, wait a second, looks the same. Oh my goodness. It's like everybody's doing it now.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
It's nuts to think that, not nuts, because historically that just tends to be the case. Art and science fiction
Yeah, science. Yeah.
tends to impact how we think about technology and the steps we make to make science fiction a reality. And seeing, some of the design aesthetics from Westworld now show up, when did that originally air? 2016, 2017? What's the first episode of that season? 2018?
I want to say 2017.
17.
That sounds right. The first season?
Yeah. But seeing some of those now impact the designs or at least looks like it heavily inspires. Like if you saw Westworld, 2016.
Yeah.
So if you saw Westworld and you've not seen these, and obviously you guys are looking at the images now, but you can't, I'm going to put it side by side, you can't deny that these look very similar. I mean, you just can't deny that, like, maybe they asked someone from Westworld to design what they thought would be a car. Maybe they didn't. Maybe, whoever was designing it took some heavy inspiration from it, or like, maybe we can turn this into a real thing. These designs definitely, I mean, they could have been floating around, but it wasn't prominent. Nobody was talking about it, at least from an EV standpoint. So the fact that those 2 things were shown, I think, really speaks to what you're talking about with science fiction inspiring the future. And it creeps into some of the design aesthetics of where a lot of industries are going. The other thing that I thought was fascinating about GM, they recently announced, I want to say this past week, that they're going to cease making gas-powered vehicles by 2035.
14
years from now. And I thought that was quite hilarious because of the date that they decided to choose, 2035.
2035.
I will be, let me see, how 14 years, I will be about 50 years old. Kylan will be in her 20s.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at it and I'm just shaking my head. Like, what is going on at GM? Who is over there? Who are their people? What is going on?
I understand. It's hard to completely overhaul your operations, still, be in the green or the black, and run a business. I get it. I totally get it. I think that the part that bothers me about it is the urgency.
Right.
And it is, I think it goes without saying that when you look at least and listen to Elon and his sense of urgency about, like, you guys don't understand. We are literally messing up our planet. We are destroying our planet
Yeah.
And that motivates him to move even faster. I can't remember what article, or it was this past summer. It might have been a podcast or an article I was reading when he was talking about Gigafactory Berlin. And they asked him why he's moving so fast. And he was like, look, I'm moving fast because we don't have time to spare.
Yeah.
And I think that both speaks to like his company has to stay at a pace that is faster than everyone else, but also from an urgency standpoint, he's like, we're running out of time. And I think that is compelling to me because, and in the same breath, he said something along the lines of like, more people need to bring up space exploration in their everyday conversation. More people need to think about it because I mean, humans are, I hate to say it, we're kind of parasitic in how we consume things. We are wasteful and we disrupt habitats and we need resources, and we should be thinking about what our future is when we're tapped dry on resources, when we're tapped dry on a lot of the things that we consume on a day-to-day basis. Where do we go? How do we move forward?
Yeah.
And so the urgency that he has around how fast he's moving and what they're doing with their company makes everyone else, when you say, oh, we're going to cease gas-powered vehicles by 2035, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Exactly. His mentality is like, now, it's almost like now is too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I thought that was interesting. Needless to say, you know, GM has something like 30 vehicles that they're working on that are EVs. We should start seeing a lot of them here really soon. The one that I'm most excited about is the Hummer, because it's such a juxtaposed position of where they were versus where they're now. Now that brand is going. It looks like it's going to be cool. I think a lot of people are going to end up buying it. They got LeBron as a spokesperson. You know, and I remember vividly, like one of his first vehicles straight out of high school and into the pros was a Hummer. It's a little controversial at the time for those of you that are my age, and I remember that. But
yes,
it just has some of that mainstream culture coolness to it that will probably be a really good vehicle for them. It's just that specific look and style is not for me. You and I have talked about that boxiness. I don't really like that in a bigger vehicle. I do like, it looks very military-esque. If I was going to go military-esque, I'm going Cybertruck. It looks like a steel armored plate tank. But that's on GM. So again, I got some images up to show off some of the things that they're talking about again. But they do have a lot of options that are coming. 2035 is when they're going to cease operations on the gas. So
14 years.
14 years from now. So let's switch over. Again, this is a little bit longer show, but let's switch over to clothing and sneakers. What sneakers are you excited about this year?
So I'm probably not a traditional sneakerhead.
No, you're not.
I'm not. I wouldn't call myself a sneakerhead at all. I'm not really into collecting sneakers and things like that. I'm more interested in shoes that push the boundary of what is your shoe, like push the shoe aesthetic. What does a shoe look like?
Yep.
So when you put it that way, it's like kind of the people who are doing that for me are Yeezy. They kind of like, they tick all those boxes for me. Excuse me. So I like things like, 380s, and I'm still waiting for a black pair. I got the Onyxes for my girlfriend, and they came in and they are so nice. And that felt good. I got it on Yeezy Supply. I ordered it, boom, it showed up, and that usually never happens.
Yep.
So we were excited to get those. Man, they look so good.
They look clean, man.
And that was her first pair, and now we can Yeezy up when we go out, which is cool. Finally for the first time. But past that, I look to I look to what they're doing with their shoes and with their aesthetic, and I'm like, yes, keep going. Like I sent you now. Nobody likes these, including Danielle, my girlfriend. She doesn't like them. You don't like them. Nobody likes them. Internet hates them, but I like them. They look like Uggs. Is what I would call them. But if you search in Google for
I'm gonna put them on screen for everybody to look at.
Put up the ones of Northwest, because she had a different palette when she was rapping at the Yeezy fashion show.
Okay.
I like those, and you talk about colorways and like aesthetic, like that is so cool for me. Now, people disagree. People think they look like moon shoes.
Michelin Man. That's what I said.
Michelin Man.
Michelin Man.
Hey, they are fire.
I bet they're going to be comfortable.
Oh, super comfortable.
Here's the thing. You're going to wear those 1 month out of the year here.
Exactly. And I'm going to be fine.
Listen, Karen, 1 month? You can at least wear Timbs up into the spring. Nobody really wears Timbs in the summer, but you can at least wear Timbs through the spring and fall. But you're talking about a shoe that you can wear 1 month out of the year where we're at. That's what you want to do?
1 month.
You're going to be taking trips to Canada for no reason.
Just to put them on.
Oh, man.
But that is what I'm talking about with them and how they just sort of, they push it way out there. Now, reining it back in, the 1050s do look pretty good.
Okay.
I am excited about the 750s coming back.
Yep, 750s.
I never got a chance to get those, so I want to get those. Those look super, super fresh, and want to get a pair of. I also do want to get a pair of those black. I never got them. The Fear of Gods. You know what I'm talking about. You have them. You got them.
Air Fear of God 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love to get those in black. I've been looking, but it's tough.
You're gonna be SOL on that one, man. You know what's gonna happen too, because Lorenzo switched over to Adidas. That will skyrocket because it'll end up being one of those like a grail pair, because now he switched to Adidas
like the Nike Air Yeezy.
Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen, man. So I got my pair. I ended up trading my Yeezy V2. Why can't I think of the name of those? Anyway, I paired 700 V2, the orange ones. Yeah. I can't think of what those are called right now off the top of my head. But I traded those in and got them for nothing, actually.
Right.
So I just did a swap. And now I have the oatmeals and those, and they look so good, man. So good. But yeah, the triple blacks, I think you missed out.
Yes, I did. Sad about that.
So you're talking about 750s, the 1050s.
Yep.
The Michelin Man boots.
Michelin Man.
451s. Have you seen those?
Let me see. 451. I think I have.
The spider webs. I don't even know what they're called. Those look like the Nike. This looks like the foam posits on. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ooze.
Yeah, those are very strange. those are too far out there for me.
Really? Now here's a funny thing. Too far. I got to tell you guys this story about my brother. I remember when the Yeezy 700s originally came out, the Wave Runners. And the internet was not happy with those. Now the 700s are glorified. People love them. And this is why I like listening to my brother on sneakers and shoes in general. But the first time he saw those, he was like, man, those look good. And I was actually in the camp of the rest of the internet. Like, those are ugly. What are you talking about? And
that's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And we were at a company party. And it was a company fair, and my brother was outside, and I was with my family, and I saw them on. He had them on, and that's the first time I saw them on foot. And I remember, do you remember this? I walked over to you, and I was like, "Oh my God, those look so clean."
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it was at that moment that I was like, oh, I'm completely wrong on these. These are gonna sell like crazy. Sure
Yes.
enough, Wave Runners, one of the best silhouettes to ever drop, in my opinion, in the last 10 years.
So
Easy.
fresh. Yeah.
It was something about the color palette, the silhouette of it, the aesthetic.
Yeah.
It just changed my perception around like, oh, these shoes are actually really dope. Dad shoes are actually kind of cool.
Yep. Yep.
And the
Saw
color
you wear
blocking,
them.
yeah, it's the color blocking on it that I think was confusing to me at first. You know, he had like the neon laces,
Yep.
the splashes of blue, the green, and
Orange. Yeah.
orange, and I was just like, those don't go together. And then when you see them on and you see how people can rock them, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. You know, let me correct myself. And that's what I think ended up happening. And it's funny because I had a similar reaction to the Suns initially, and then I had to check myself like, no, these are going to be fire. They look like similarly to the Wave Runners, and I was
So
like,
cool.
these are going to be a hit. Now you can't find them. Resell on them is double. Like people are like, this is the second coming of the Wave Runner with the Sun. So it's interesting just listening to you, and I know some people are going to love the Michelin Mans. But that is just, it's not that it's too far out there. It's not my aesthetic. I don't like the big poofiness in it.
See,
And
I like the comfort. I'm big on comfort.
I'm sure it's gonna be comfortable, but the thing I keep thinking about is like I said, you're gonna wear those, and you won't even get them a month here where we're at. You have to purposefully go somewhere colder so you can wear those. You're gonna be up in the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's also the thing. When they open back up at work, they keep those AC units pumping.
So you're gonna wear them as slippers. Oh God.
Exactly. You already know where I'm going. Comfy slippers. It's like working from home. I'm just extending
My
that.
camera's off for my brother, so he can't see my reaction, but everybody else got to see my reaction right there. Oh man. Oh, Kennedy, you're something else, dude. Oh.
I told you, I'm not. I'm just not the typical.
Yeah. I will say, look, again, you guys got to understand, my brother has a very specific sense of style. Like I said, he called the 700s. I mean, the internet was livid. If you guys remember what 2017 was like when those things got unveiled, people were hating on him. I remember people saying things like, you know, did he design those in the mental ward because he was going through his thing? Like all types of crazy, super mean internet type things being said. And now people look at that shoe and it's like coveted, heavily coveted. So I'm not knocking the choices and selections that you have. 1050s are okay to me.
Yeah.
But I know that you like Yeezy. I know that I've showed you some shoes from some other designs and silhouettes that have inspired Yeezy, you know, Y3s, things like that, you've also been like, ooh, I like those.
Yeah.
So I know that you definitely have a very specific sense of style. And my brother, and again, we're going to show some stuff with him on Modern Future here soon, but you guys will see. He just has a very specific taste in the things that he wears. I remember the first time you wore a poncho. You remember this?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I never considered that in my wardrobe.
I made my own poncho, actually. I made it.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
It.
He's also very, very much so into designing some of his own things.
Yes. I fell out of the practice.
The artiste in him.
Yeah. Yes.
This is on clothing. Any clothing interests that you have this year?
So I just purchased my first couple items this year. I was looking at H&M and Urban over the past year, just kind of going in, checking it out, and I noticed that they hadn't updated their stock. They seem to not update their stock for a long time.
Yeah.
And over the course of the year, probably linked to the pandemic, but I went in a couple weekends ago and picked up some items that I was pretty excited about. Cybertruck ready, neutral palette, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I like that. Mesh khakis, like a dark gray tee and a really nice, comfortable jacket that's like a dark, like a green color. Not green, gray. Sorry. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Perfect. Got in, got out. But yeah, that's it so far, honestly. And what I started to realize is that a lot of the stuff I like, and I've been reading and watching your videos, reading the blog.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the things that I like are like fear of God, and that aesthetic. I love it. Um, I wish that Yeezy would get back into clothes, but I think that they probably focus on shoes now.
I I don't know. I think that we'll
Hard
see
to say.
some there. Uh, I think he wants to complete the trifecta, right? Like he went to the foam runners again, something that people crazy criticism, but apparently they're super comfortable. I didn't get a pair because I don't really wear those slides
Yeah,
and things like that. But I think he might make a transition back
yeah. I mean,
Calabasa.
I sent you that link, right? That had the design prototype for the new website where you
Yeah.
could
Mm-hmm.
get clothes and stuff, but there's no date on that. But um, I realized that the stuff that I want, I'd have to do a little bit more digging to get,
Yes.
um, like the Fear of God stuff and like some of the other things that you've been posting and tweeting about. Um, because you're just not going to find it at places like H&M, Urban. You're just not going to find it.
Yeah. You
That's the
definitely have
conclusion I'm
to.
coming to.
Yeah. You definitely have to do a lot of digging, research in order to find. Think about Fear of God stuff. Is like it's super expensive. It's maybe you could buy one or two pieces a year, something like that, if you were into that.
Yeah.
I I would go with the essentials, which is some of the stuff that I've talked about already, which is much more affordable, and you can get some similar silhouettes and things like that from
Yeah.
the high end Fear of God line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but what gets me about their line is really the shape, the silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
and the layering. I don't think there's anyone in the game that does layering better than Jerry Lorenzo. He could make the most mundane thing look uh, so much nicer when he puts it on and he styles it and
Just with layering.
yeah, with just with
Amazing.
layering, and it's surprising to me how much he's evolved just over the like I think you and I were looking at his collection progress over the years. I went back. This must have been at the beginning of the year as I was starting the podcast and wanted to talk some more about this stuff. And I went back and looked at first collection, and then I went through each year following subsequent year. And
Mm-hmm.
by fifth selection or fifth collection, he started to really develop this like I want to call it high end casual. It's like a only I don't know. He got everything. The proportions are right, and it's like sixth collection. Ooh, and then the seventh collection, man. Oh my goodness. There's just some looks in there that are unbelievable, and I think there's some other parts of this that really speak to me, and I started to do it a little bit right before the pandemic ended. Was like this like almost Yeezy like Jedi wardrobe, and there's some
Yes.
pieces where um, they take a blazer, but they it's more like a shawl, like a cardigan,
Yeah.
and the drapage on it is super long, and it's a little bit thicker, and the quality on it looks like a 100% wool cotton blend. I haven't looked at the materials, so it has a nice thickness to it that gives off this like Jedi vibes in some of the pictures. The way they layer it on top of clothing, it's so nice,
Mm, mm.
so nice. Um, okay, okay, that's interesting. I've already released my 2021 sneaker interest. Clothing aspect again. I'm just shifting out the old, bringing in the new.
Yep.
I got essentials. I got some kith stuff. I've been
Kith is really cool.
Kith is so cool, right? The
Yeah.
colors, the washes, they do an
Yeah.
excellent job with some of that. Now, I was trying to get the Simpsons. They did a Simpson collab
Oh wow.
2 weeks ago. It was this was part of their Monday program. So every Monday, they drop new stuff. So there'd be something in there tomorrow. They did
Yeah.
MLK, and then there was Simpsons, and then this Monday. So it was this past week, um, and I missed. It was sold out instantly. And then I was checking resale. It was a lot. But yeah, I got picked up some Fear of God stuff, some essentials, picked up some kit stuff. But this is all for the channel. And then there's Talentless, which is I would call them a Fear of God mimicker by Scott Disick
Yeah.
from Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yes.
I've been looking at some of their stuff. I got something there for review purposes, and I've just been kind of going through Cuts Clothing, some stuff I got there, just seeing how I want to evolve stuff going forward as we prepare for Cybertruck
The
fashion
Cybertruck.
season.
Cybertruck ready.
So last topic, well, it's two more topics, but one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I want other people to kind of hear this because I know it differs based on each region. We're in North Carolina or the capital area, Raleigh area, but house hunting.
Yeah.
You are house hunting. We're in the midst of a pandemic. What has that been like? What's the market like? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah. The market has been where we are is pretty crazy. Market is bananas right now. I wish that I had purchased. I wish I had gotten to the market actually last year because I feel like it would have been easier. People were kind of like hunkered down, right? They weren't really going out. They weren't really um, thinking about making home purchases in the masses.
Yeah.
But now, I think there's a little bit more optimism, right? And
Yep.
it's only January, but um, what they're seeing and what my realtor and my lender, they've been discussing with me about is that it's unprecedented how crazy the market is right now here in this area. And just the one example is like there were like 27 offers on one of the homes that we were looking at. And there was another one that had over 50 offers. So it's quite challenging.
That's
and we've
crazy.
been on the hunt. Yeah, we've been on the hunt for a few weeks now. Learned so much. Feel like I've learned so much. We've learned so much about things we want. We're very much faster about knowing what's a yes and what's a no.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I remember there was this one house that we missed out on. It was literally our very first day of looking for homes. And it was like the second home we saw, but we just loved it. We loved it. It was perfect. Perfect home, terraced backyard, nice and big vaulted ceilings, spacious, perfect layout, had a study, bonus room. But we just like, oh, all right, that's cool. Let's just save that. And man, that dude was gone.
Let's save that.
We'll circle back to that.
We'll come back to that.
There was no circling back. Like offer needed to be put in basically that day to get to even be in contention.
Yeah.
Another example. So that was one that I remember vividly. Another one. This was interesting. It kind of harkens on kind of the things that you want to have locked and loaded, ready to go. But before you go into your looking process, is that having a pre-approval letter is so key.
Oh man. Yes.
Yeah, we had a situation where we had an opportunity to swoop in on a house because the person who was putting in an offer did not have their approval letter, so they were not ready to go. So we kind of swooped in and were able to put an offer in because they weren't ready to go.
Yeah.
We didn't get it, but it's an example. Give you an example of how things work in real estate and looking for homes, and sometimes you get lucky like that.
That letter of intent, folks. If you are searching for a house and you don't have your letter of intent, is so critical when you
Yeah.
go to put in offers in this market. I think there's a couple places where I can think of right now: Austin, Raleigh area, some places in Cali, though people are kind of an exodus there. Um, but anywhere where uh, people are moving to in spades right now, that's important.
Yeah. That's huge, huge, huge. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's been a good learning process.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we know exactly what we also have been watching a lot. We watch a lot of home remodeling
I was
shows.
gonna say, yeah,
We watch a lot just to see the aesthetic. We were Danielle and I were big on just like having a certain aesthetic and doing things in the home that make it appreciate
and value.
and
Hmm.
value. And you and I have been talking about doing some um, training for like doing home improvement because there's a lot of money in that.
Yeah,
And if you can also save money if you can do it yourself. So I had wished that
and
we
spent more time doing that.
growing up
Oh
spent
man,
more time because
you guys need to. We had the perfect opportunity.
perfect opportunity. We were parent, dad, and grandfather were in housing, but we did not get a chance to pursue that because our mom and dad divorced. But uh,
Yep.
just feel like missed opportunity, slipped through our fingers with that.
It's funny. One of my memories that I have from housing and construction, being around dad early on, was drywall. He and I went to one of the houses when you were must have been maybe 5, so I was about 9 or 10,
Yeah,
and I helped him set drywall on. We did a whole wall together, and that was my first time doing that. Obviously,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So some of the
I
things
didn't
that
know that.
like I remember from that are like not a whole lot, but I do remember setting the drywall, doing that with him. Um, and you got to think this would have been mid '90s, so there's like wallpaper was another thing. I helped dad with some wallpaper
Hmm.
before, but there was so much that we could have
Oh,
learned back then. I mean, we had Mr. Hancock was you remember him, Mr. Hancock.
yes.
He was a
We were
bricklayer
painting. We were painting.
painting,
Yeah.
but he was a bricklayer. So what do they? I don't know. I think they're called masons. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
So
we had an opportunity to learn so much. I mean, and just the mentality. Our dad was kind of lax with it. Didn't really push us too hard on it. And
yeah,
now not having that knowledge, it's like, well, we got the computer stuff down
we had the computer
now.
stuff. Yeah.
but
But I
but
mean,
once you get to this age, you're like, I wish I could do more home improvement stuff.
yeah, it comes full circle. It
Yeah,
truly does. But a lot of stuff now you can kind of DIY and
yeah, you can look it up.
yeah, look it up
That's what
and things
Chrissy,
like that.
my wife is the fixer upper. She likes getting into that stuff, and so I just kind of osmosis through her. I'll help her every now and again do a couple things that I know how to do. But yeah, it's funny with the house hunting stuff. When my brother was first starting, some of the things I was telling him, he was like, "Well, what did you guys do?" And so I walked him through our process. He's actually using the realtor that we use. She's fantastic. Um, but I was telling him all the research that we had done beforehand. So we would look online, and then we go to we scoured through a bunch of different things, and then we took, I don't know, maybe 40 or so places that we really liked, then drove by each of them. And then after we did that, the ones that we really liked, we'd ask our realtor to show them to us. And that was our process. This was 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because the house that we ended up purchasing, my wife saw it, looked at it the same day that she saw it, was like, hey, we should drive by there. They just happened to have an open house the day that we drove by. And we walked in and we were like, oh my God, this is the house. This is it. This is like everything that we want. It's so close to, the area that we want.
Yep.
And come to find out, it's in the exact same neighborhood as our realtor. She's literally down the street from us. And she's like, oh, this is a great choice. But we did all the legwork for her just because we were really active. I think there were 3 offers on the house. And fast forward to now, you're competing every single house that you've been shown. Basically, you're competing with 10 plus other people minimum.
Yeah,
Which
minimum.
is insane. And it was funny because you're like, oh, we're thinking about maybe March or no. You said May.
Yeah.
Maybe end of May time. And I said that to Christy, and Christy's been involved with the Facebook groups, the moms that are coming into the area, the families that are coming into the area, and there's a lot of chatter about houses. Hey, it's such and such, and she's like, no. You need to tell Carrington to start looking right now. It's crazy.
Yep.
So then Carrington's reporting back to us. I was like, hey, there's 50 plus offers on a house. Hey, people are offering cash offers for houses. People are putting in more on the due diligence than other folks. Like, it is competitive right now. And it's pretty nuts. So it's a seller's market for sure in our area. And
100%.
I just can't believe
everything.
I can't believe the competition that you guys are facing right now with the house.
Just 2 years later.
Yeah, just 2 years later. During a pandemic.
That's
the part that I can't get over. It's like during the pandemic, it's crazy.
It's just this market. It's this market, man.
Yeah.
Here.
So last thing I want to hit on for this extra long show is the stock market. The GameStop extravaganza that's been happening with the Reddit-verse Wall Street bets plus hedge funds. I am participating only because of, I'm not a memester. I don't want to watch the world burn or anything like that. I'll say I'm not a memester. I am a little bit of a memester. So I was looking at things from a hilarity standpoint. It was just funny to me, and was happy for some of the folks that were able to game the hedge funds that short companies to the extreme that GameStop has been shorted. Not wild about hedge funds. Don't particularly want to see them fail per se. But retail investors, at least when you hear folks talk about them on mainstream media, they make it seem like they're nuts when it's definitely not the case. And there's definitely, with the internet, growing number of folks that are more educated, making very sophisticated plays, and we're starting to see some of the anti-establishment movement affecting markets. What I found most interesting about this whole ordeal, I think, is that and this is the thing that really got me into it and getting involved, at least minorly, is that when people realized what was going on, it seemed almost as if Robinhood and some of the folks that were operating in the background made it a little difficult, we'll say that, for the retail investor to make purchases. Come to find out, there was a lot of speculation on who was behind it. And some folks, I think, that responded to me when I was talking about it on Twitter, because I was really mad at Robinhood, which is a place that I don't have all my investments in there. I changed my portfolio around at the beginning of the pandemic, where Robinhood was more about crypto for me, and my actual serious investing was in Ally Invest. Well, when they started restricting the purchases of GameStop, I was like, well, who's behind this? So there's a lot of speculation on Citadel, who is I think a VC for them. They help fund it. But then you look at the liquidity, which is what people were getting to. It's like, is Robinhood actually halting folks? And then when I said that I wasn't happy with Robinhood, I had people coming to me saying, well, it's not Robinhood's fault. Well, actually, when the CEO did an interview, Vlad, whatever his name is, Vlad something, it is their fault. They are limiting transactions because they have a liquidity problem. So it's not a free market. They are purposefully, intentionally hindering folks at this point.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's not cool. I understand why they have the issue, but it is still them at the end of the day that that are limiting people's ability to sell and or buy. In some cases, you can't sell. If you wanted to buy 20 shares right now at a Friday when things close, you could only buy one share of GameStop.
Right.
One.
Right.
So if you wanted to buy, try to ride the wave because you're a momentum trader, and then sell, you couldn't buy, but you couldn't buy the amount that you wanted, and as a result, you couldn't sell the amount that you wanted. But if you had an existing stake already, they let you sell whatever you wanted to, which is what people were most upset about, because it caused people to, I think, kind of panic. Some of the folks panic and then sell because that was their only option on the stock. So people weren't too happy about that. There's a lot of legislature and stuff like the legislators getting involved, AOC, Ted Cruz, a couple of other folks all in agreement and coordinates about what's going on. But the part that I think a lot of people are waking up to is that hedge funds and established mutual funds and a lot of other folks that have been investing for a while, the stockbrokers, have been manipulating the system for a really long time.
Yeah.
It's just now coming to the forefront of like, oh, this is the game they've been playing. Now people are like, oh, well, I'm going to counter the game. And now I think that we've got a really big issue on their hands because Wall Street bets went from 2 million or 1 million, 1.5 million, I can't remember what it is, subscribers to that Reddit. It's like 7 million now, man. So when you talk about that number of retail investors and mainstream folks and momentum-based traders all coalescing in that area, it can get scary for the markets. That's now the largest public hedge fund with people that are driven very viscerally by emotional trading and not necessarily by big financial analysis, which does happen quite a bit in that area for those that have been on there. I didn't become a subscriber until most recently. What I would do, however, is look on our stocks, our investing in our Wall Street bets to read stories that was happening because I'm kind of a meme lord. Part of my job is to be involved with the internet. So of course I read those places. Now I'm a subscriber. Now I'm super vested because of what has happened. I don't know how much of this you've been following. I know that when we talk about stocks, I've been harking on you just how
to get involved.
And now you've made a pretty penny. Getting involved when you did.
I have been following a little bit the story. What I'm most fascinated by is just sort of the intersection of the reckoning between Wall Street and tech, and how the masses can rally in this case, and make a difference on Wall Street. I don't know. There's something about that sounded sort of futuristic to me, and sounded just interesting because you don't really see that. You don't see that a lot, right? And for it to come up as just this major news story, like it just feels like a reckoning is happening.
Yeah, for sure. So without getting too involved, that is something that I think we will be looking out for the rest of the year at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in watching the story. There'll probably be a couple more shows where I talk more about stocks in general, just my philosophy, how I invest, and maybe even how I've gotten involved here recently. But I have shifted a little bit more towards crypto. Again, since I'm moving off of Robinhood, I moved to Coinbase for crypto, and looking at a couple other things, whether or not I keep a Robinhood. Right now, I'm planning to delete as soon as the rest of my funds transfer out of there. Boom, I'm gone. And I'm going to stick with my main baby with Ally Invest. But I was looking at SoFi, Public, and there's one more I can't remember. To look at those, but you and I both Ally Invest, so
Ally Invest is the way to do it.
Yep.
I just want to get Dogecoin just because the dog on it. That's all.
Doge. You want to get the Doge?
Doge.
Yeah, for sure. Doggy. But yeah, Elon was,
So
it was so funny just watching that take place. But thanks so much. This is a longer show for those listening. This will be available ASAP over on all the places that we publish this. Is there anything you want to part with, Carrington?
Stay safe. Stay safe out there, folks. Stay healthy and keep watching, because it's just going to get more and more exciting, this tech stuff. Keep watching.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on. And to everyone else out there, see you guys in the next episode.